So, who remembers when I used to play Roguelikes on his channel? I will note that recently I bought a couple games on my phone. I basically had no real games I just wanted to play, and I figured why not basically check out what was basically on my phone. And well, there's basically a couple games that caught my interest. One of those games was Crying Suns, and the other was Solar Rogue. Now, I'll note that Crying Suns here. This is essentially a FTL style game, though it's very much its own game and it does its own thing. It essentially is a multi-tier run type of game where you go into a run and you complete a portion of the game, and then you go into another run which basically continues the game. So basically it's a multiple run game that spans multiple chapters, and you have to basically beat the game multiple times in order to beat the game, so to speak. As opposed to say FTL, which is basically everything's a self-contained run every single time. For those basically who remember Death of Extinction, it's very much in that style of game where each run you basically do is its own separate thing, but you're basically doing multiple runs for a storyline, so to speak. And I'll note that Crying Suns is very much a storyline based game, so there is that. Now I'll note by the way this is going to be a 7-episode run. That's basically enough for me to basically show off what the game's basically all about. I'll note that basically to complete this game and go through all its storylines and stuff like that, would require me to basically play the game with at least 6 completed runs. And well, I could basically go through it 6 times, but I really feel once you basically see a full chapter, you basically see enough basically of the gameplay to basically understand basically how it plays. So instead of doing that to you guys, I just went through one chapter, the first one, and basically to show off what the basic gameplay of the game was basically all about. So if you want basically more, let me know. I'm always interested basically pursuing a series that you guys basically want me to see, but for the most part, it's just a full chapter I went through, and that's basically all I did for it. Now, after Crying Suns, I have another quick little series for Solar Rogue here. Solar Rogue is essentially a game that's available on Steam as well as on Android phone, but it's very much a game that's also in early access. It's in development. Now, my thoughts on this game is that if you're going to play it, buy it on the mobile because it's a lot cheaper, and probably more in line to what type of price you basically want to play for this game. It's really expensive on Steam. But besides that, the idea of Solar Rogue is essentially you're a spaceship flying through space, and you essentially get lost in some unknown part of space which you don't recognize and stuff like that. Now the idea of this game is you're basically gonna go get the MacGuffin. Essentially, it's called the Converter of Yendor, and then basically bring it back to the entrance in order to go home. Now, there's a lot of aspects to this game I really like. Essentially, it's you're playing a spaceship, and you basically equip your spaceship with multiple parts, and you basically have weapons and shields and a converter and stuff like that. And the idea of the game is that basically you go through it, you basically harvest energy from plants and components of other defeated starships, and you essentially just try to continue on basically to basically get your item and get home. It has little events as well as quests and stuff like that, and branching arcs in which Dungeon Crawl Sim Soup, and it has a lot of potential. Basically, the developer of this game basically said all the core systems are there, and now it seems to be more or less fine-tuned for the most part. Now, I'll note basically this is a game that I really hope that basically that gets developed a whole lot more than what's currently basically at right now. It has the potential to be something awesome, though it needs a lot more work basically to be done to it for sure. Alright, now, I'll note that these 2 series will basically take me up to the end of August. And after that, there's basically a couple of things basically note at this point that are kind of important basically to note. So, I'll note that after a long time of waiting for this, Jupiter Hell on Steam is released. The full release of Jupiter Hell is finally here. And for those who don't know, this is basically a game I kickstarted way back in the day. So I want to note that basically for those who basically missing Rogues basically on my channel, there's going to be Rogues basically coming to my channel again. And yes, the next major roguelike I'll be covering is Jupiter Hell. Also, as well, by the way, just to throw it out there, I of course still have other stuff basically I want to show off as well. I still have to get off this playlist for the Korean Empire, and I still have to complete the one for the Let's Learn right here. But yeah, just basically still stuff to come. and I hope you guys basically are going to enjoy it. But just to throw it out there, I'm going to come back to the Roguelikes finally. And just so guys know as well, I also plan to go back to Tales of Magic at some point as well. But I guess we'll just keep kicking it down on the back burner here. So that's just a thing. So oh well. Alright, so that's basically all I want to say for this quick little video. Hope you guys enjoy the content thus far. Hope you guys enjoy the content that will come. And take care.